Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. The Kardashians' family strife will seem like a kindergarten nap story after what recently surfaced from the heavyweight universe.
I want you to fight Jake to replace Javante. I'm like, who's Jake? I was so confused, I wasn't expecting that at all. And he said, yeah, Jake Paul, he's fighting. And I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that. And then they even say they even come out after and say, and what if the number are good? He sent out some number. I'm like, it's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started up. I would have told you.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. The Kardashians' family strife will seem like a kindergarten nap story after what recently surfaced from the heavyweight universe. Mike Tyson, who used to make opponents disappear more quickly than your paycheck on Black Friday, has finally spoken out about Jake Paul's crazy choice to criticize Francis friggin' Ngannou. And believe me when I say that Tyson's remarks exploded. This is not your typical online feud. This is similar to witnessing a YouTuber shout, "Let's collaborate," as they enter Jurassic Park, brandishing a selfie stick. Jake Paul just nudged a man who could literally punch a refrigerator into retirement, and the T-Rex responds, "Bet." Now that Iron Mike has added his voice, what is his response? It has more electricity than Logan Paul's prime booth at WrestleMania, to put it mildly. According to rumors, Tyson's remarks were so brutally honest and unvarnished that even Ngannou's camp briefly fell silent. What about Jake? Yes, he is most likely already writing the script for his upcoming 4K apologetic video. Stay put, because Tyson's remarks have the potential to completely alter the combat sports industry. You won't be able to look at Jake Paul the same way after hearing that, I promise. Now imagine this. When everyone on the internet is relaxing and browsing TikToks of people posing as boxers in order to get likes, Jake Paul decides to unleash a nuclear bomb of pandemonium by criticizing Francis Ngannou. Yes, that Francis, the human tank who used to enjoyably punch holes in the UFC octagon. This is an appeal for dental reconstruction, not a call-out. The godfather of boxing brutality, Mike Tyson, joins the conversation before anyone has a chance to write "RIP Jake Paul" in the comments. Let's take a moment to go back in time, since this narrative didn't simply happen. Jake has been acting like he is the last ruler of the internet recently. He appears to have a death wish, masquerading as confidence in addition to the money, following, and private jets. Recall that this is the same Jake Paul who began his career as a clown on Vine, evolved into a YouTuber, rapper, and boxer, a human equivalent of a midlife crisis. However, he continued to succeed in some way. Every time he did, everyone in the world said, wait, this might actually be working. Then came Francis Ngannou, the man whose fists ought to be listed as weapons in several parallel universes and all 50 states. Built like a Marvel villain, this guy used to work in a sand mine and hits with more force than a little auto accident. Therefore, the internet didn't simply chuckle when Jake Paul said, "Yo, Francis, let's make history." It crashed. During Elon's tweets, memes surged more quickly than cryptocurrency prices. Jake was accused of having career-ending confidence. However, this is where the actual mayhem started. It seems that the legendary Mike Tyson, the first knockout king, was observing. You can be sure that the universe modifies its energy levels when Mike Tyson observes. In combat...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they would matter. If he wants to make some money, Floyd wants to make some money.
Such a big MMA fan. I've been to UFC fights and I see you sitting octagon side. I can't help but wonder, if you had gotten into MMA as a young man, as a teenager, instead of boxing, how do you think your career would have went, Mike?
Hey, I had no idea, but I'm really enthused about the MMA, because not thinking, I had no idea that Raphael, who's from a background of MMA, would know so much about boxing. I had no idea. The only thing I know about great boxing is the great Ed Joffre, who was a legendary boxer who happened to be Brazilian, but never knowing, not being conscious that he would know that much about boxing.
Do you think you could have learned all the wrestling moves and the takedown defense and could have been a champion in something like the UFC?
I could have done all that stuff. But once someone stepped on my foot, I would have tapped out. My feet are my weak spot.
In combat sports, he is more than just a retired boxer. He's a living example of religion. Even the walls at boxing facilities begin to shadowbox when Tyson speaks. Iron Mike was amused but concerned, according to people close to him. He was amused because it's interesting to see a house cat battle a lion, but you know how it ends. Worried since Tyson is aware of Jake's influence. He is aware that Jake is changing the rules for viral battle rather than only throwing fists. This is how it all transpired. Jake Paul uploads a video in which he paces around as though he's going to reveal a new NFT, is shirtless as usual, and is wearing sunglasses indoors because confidence seems to require shades. Francis Ngannou, you're next.
Do you have 2 quick ones? Do you have somebody in mind who you might call out after the fight on the 26th? Do you know your next move? I know you're very calculating when it comes to this.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of people out there still. KSI says he wants to fight me later on in the year. We'll see if he stops his capping. Nate Diaz is still running around. I think the Floyd fight is still interesting. So there's a lot of names out there after this fight.
And speaking of you being the great promoter also, I know Francis Ngannou, he's looking for a promoter. Have you guys talked?
We have talked. Yeah.
Give me something, Jake. Come on, buddy. Let's go.
So, yeah, no. The Most Valuable Promotions team, we talked to Francis, and we think we can do a great job for him, you know, and we share the same vision on a lot of things. And so hopefully,
he adds, staring directly at the camera. This is what the world desires. In boxing, I'm the baddest man. Please pardon me. Baddest man? Did Jake forget that title was created by Mike Tyson? That would be like claiming to be the king of pop when the ghost of Michael Jackson is looking down from above and asking, "Really, bro?" According to reports, Tyson's camp sent out feelers within hours, not to promote the fight, but to make sure Jake was sane. Because it's one thing to call out Ngannou. Making use of Tyson's crown phrase, that is private, that would be like taking Iron Mike's tiger and attempting to pet it. Then it took place. The question that went viral was posed to Tyson during an interview that was meant to be about his cannabis company. Mike, how do you feel about Francis Ngannou being called out by Jake Paul? The tension in the room was audible. Tyson blinked twice. With that look, the one he gives just before uttering something that makes people shudder, he leaned forward, and he spoke with the composure of a monk who has witnessed too many knockouts. Jake has a heart, but sometimes a heart hurts. Boom. That was all. Just one phrase. 7 phrases. Sufficient strength to trigger an earthquake on social media. The video immediately went viral. The entire internet became a Tyson translator service, including YouTube breakdowns, Twitter discussions, and TikTok edits. A few conspiracy theorists asserted that Tyson was covertly teaching Ngannou in a secret gym in the desert, while others described it as advice or a warning. However, what about the subtext? As clear as day, Tyson was concerned rather than impressed, because clout and clicks weren't important in boxing during his time. It was about broken jaws, blood, and perspiration. Tyson's spirit probably punched air when he saw Jake turn it into a social media circus. The twist is that Jake was unaffected by Tyson's response. He was ignited by it, Jake tweeted. Respect to Iron Mike, but heart's what legends are made of, rather than retreating. Who has more? Let's see. More heart? In opposition to Francis Ngannou, let's see who can stare at the sun longer, is analogous to that. When they spotted the tweet, Tyson's team apparently laughed. Mike was grinning and shaking his head, according to one insider. But you could tell, he knows how this ends. For Tyson, this is more than simply amusement. It's a struggle between ego and progress. He is aware of the sport, the suffering, and the terror that accompany each blow. Tyson is aware that the ring doesn't give a damn about your supporters, even though Jake may have spirit. The worst part is that rumors began to circulate that Tyson might intervene to coach Jake for the bout. Yes, give that some thought. Jake may be getting ready for the beating of his life from the same Mike Tyson who once warned, "Heart gets you hurt." Why? Tyson enjoys turmoil. He is the original unpredictable king. Fans went crazy. Tyson turning Jake into a real fighter was the title of a Twitter conversation. The problem child is being mentored by Iron Mike. It resembled a Netflix hybrid between Rocky Balboa and Cobra Kai. However, something darker was simmering beneath the hoopla, memes, and headlines. Jake's influential DNA was at odds with Tyson's traditional code. Not in the ring, but in philosophy, two generations of boxing culture are poised to clash. Jake stands for money and attention, while Tyson stands for suffering and purity. And that conflict officially started as soon as Tyson spoke. Because it's not advised when Mike Tyson, the man who once declared that he wanted to eat the children of his opponents, says that heart gets you hurt, it is a prophecy. Now, the question was not whether Jake Paul would fight Ngannou, but rather if he would live long enough to regret it. Tyson's sly smile said it all as the world debated. You want to dance with monsters. When they cease allowing you to lead, don't be shocked. If you thought this was crazy, you won't believe how the internet, celebrities, and even Ngannou himself blew up in the next section. The Tyson effect was only getting started. This was a full-fledged Category 5 hurricane of chaos, the kind that flips Ferraris, destroys careers, and converts press conferences into meme museums. Whereas part 1 was the storm building on the horizon, because the world of combat sports fell apart like a terrible divorce. As soon as Tyson's 7-word sermon, Jake's got heart, but sometimes heart gets you hurt, appeared online. The hypebeasts, YouTube defenders, and anything is possible if you manifest it crowd made up Team Jake. Jake is the future of boxing, deal with it, they chanted. Conversely, the purists are the traditional fighters, the followers of Tyson, and those who believe shadowboxing should be performed in candlelight while classical music plays. They came for Jake's throat boy. Twitter was ablaze. Memes surged more quickly than Logan Paul's energy drinks at WrestleMania, with one fan writing, Jake Paul calling out Ngannou is like my cat challenging a blender. Both end up shredded. Another added, Mike Tyson just predicted Jake's funeral and made it sound poetic. Jake Paul's visage was even photoshopped onto a hospital bed with Ngannou holding flowers over him. What about the caption, influencer, get well soon? However, the meme served only as a warm-up. Celebrities immediately began to voice their opinions, and when Hollywood gets involved, you can be sure the circus is in town. First up was Snoop Dogg, who naturally had first dibs on anything pertaining to Tyson. Laughing so hard he had to hold his blunt in midair, he jumped on Instagram Live and exclaimed, Man, Ngannou isn't human, so Jake needs to start calling Ghostbusters. The youngster will require divine insurance, Tyson informed him. The Rock then commented on X, previously Twitter, saying, I applaud Jake's hustle, but calling out Francis, that would be like me using a protein smoothie to battle a wrecking ball. However, the conversation took a major turn when Dana White, the human embodiment of pandemonium and caffeine, joined in. He referred to Jake's challenge as a clown show wrapped in delusion, and even made the suggestion that Tyson might have said the nicest version of what everyone else was thinking. Let's hear Jake's reaction. Jake Paul reloads instead of retreating. He responded with a tweet that caused everyone on the internet to gasp. Dana is able to speak. Snoop is able to chuckle. Tyson is able to caution. However, I continue to be the lone person entering that ring. I respect legends, but I'm not afraid of them. Boom. Millions of views, thousands of irate remarks, and a single enormous, "What is this man smoking?" responses. The worst part is that his fan base grew greater the more people made fun of him. Tyson's comments became a rallying cry for Jake's supporters. Trending hashtags included Heart Gets You Hurt and Nach Problem Child V's Beast. Fans started interpreting Tyson's warning as a prophecy that Jake will disobey rather than follow. It was evolving into a full-fledged cultural uprising rather than only a battle call-out. As if this soap opera wasn't exciting enough, a video that was leaked from Tyson's training facility showed Iron Mike using an iPad to view one of Jake's sparring sessions. The expression on his face. The internet went crazy over a combination of proud uncle and this kid's about to meet Jesus. People began to speculate that Tyson might actually support Jake throughout the fight, serving as a mentor to help his protege get ready to take on the ultimate ruler in the sport. But what did no one anticipate? Ngannou's response, because the predator didn't roar when he did speak. He chuckled. Francis shared a brief video of himself striking a heavy bag that sounded like a shotgun going off on Instagram, writing, "Is this what Jake Paul wants? All right. However, let him know that I don't participate in YouTube challenges. Oh no." Calm, icy, and subtly frightening. Jake's entire fight advertisement was not as viral as that one line. Tyson even shared it using just the coffin emoji. The internet really went crazy at that point. Channels of reactions exploded. Boxing commentators began speculating about caffeine like college professors. Some suggested Jake was trolling for attention, while others said he was attempting to force Tyson's mentorship by putting himself in risk. Some even speculated that Tyson planned the entire event in secret to rekindle interest in heavyweight boxing. And really, the idea wasn't all that crazy. As the world watched, Tyson, the ultimate chaos trader, witnessed the collision of two eras: Jake's influencer insanity and his traditional violence. He was at least holding the spoon if he wasn't stirring the pot. However, it was said that tensions were rising behind the screens. According to insiders, Jake's team began contacting Tyson for guidance. Yes, Jake's management was contacting the same Mike Tyson, whose cautionary statement had become a meme, to see if he might assist Jake in getting ready for Ngannou. It's similar to attempting to train yourself with the Grim Reaper. What was Tyson's reaction? As always, mysterious. He said to reporters, "I'll check to see if he truly wants to bleed if he's serious." In this narrative, the quote turned into the second nuclear tweet. All of a sudden, the Tyson-Paul Ngannou triangle became mythology rather than simply boxing rumors. The remarks were priceless. Mike is going to make Jake the most expensive punching bag in the world. Jake forgot that Ivan Drago is still alive, but he still wants to be Rocky. Francis is currently honing his knuckles, and Jake remained unfazed by all of this turmoil. Once more, he doubled down. "Legends built this sport," he wrote as the caption for a recent training video in which he struck pads. With dramatic music, slow-motion punches, and backdrop remarks from Tyson, he essentially transformed a death wish into an inspirational montage. "I'm bringing it to the future." However, no one was persuaded. While Jake's supporters saw it as fate, Tyson regarded it as disrespect. At that point, a leaked audio clip from a podcast Tyson was recording caused the third explosion. He stated in it, "I like Jake's bravery. However, if he intervenes alongside Ngannou, it's survival rather than boxing." In the domain of fighting, that one word, survival, became the catchphrase. It was clipped by TMZ, ESPN, and every fight site on Instagram in a matter of hours. Tyson's tone was prophetic rather than mocking. The weight of his experience was nearly audible. This was a warning from a guy who had witnessed fighters wilt under smaller blows, not trash talk. Nevertheless, Jake managed to maintain a smile despite it. "Fear fuels me," was the message he wrote on a selfie he shared. The section for comments? An online riot. Influencers began picking sides, fans began placing bets, and even Elon Musk tweeted, "This is the simulation glitching again." By this point, the excitement had shifted from the fight to Tyson's next move. Would he mentor Jake, encourage Ngannou, or watch his followers fight for his throne while lounging like a boxer god? Mike's words, emojis, and silences all served as headline material. Mike Tyson declared he will be making an appearance at Jake's upcoming fight conference, just when everyone thought it couldn't get any wilder. Cue complete chaos. Tyson was allegedly joining Jake's side, according to his supporters. Supporters of Ngannou claimed he was coming to bless the devastation. In any case, every boxing enthusiast on the planet was aware that when Iron Mike arrives, the building becomes peaceful. As if it were a royal wedding, the internet began to count down. The jokes became sharper, the memes darker, and the tension more intense than Jake's ego. Officially, Tyson had transitioned from commentator to kingmaker. And if this was how the build-up appeared, the fallout was going to turn the will. Smith slap into a courteous handshake, because the world would stop and boxing would never look the same after Tyson finally spoke on that stage. Keep an eye out because the gloves are physically and figuratively coming off. The press conference, which felt more like a countdown to the end of the world than a fight announcement, finally came. There are cameras everywhere. Security is more stringent than that of the Pentagon, and in the center of it all is Jake Paul, beaming with confidence and probably coffee. Francis Ngannou, on the other hand, was serene, enormous, and appeared to have eaten dread for breakfast. The doors then opened. Mike Tyson comes in, quiet. Reporters' respiration literally stopped. Tyson entered with his signature, "I've seen things, look," and black sunglasses. The man is punctuation, therefore he didn't need to say anything. However, Jake, always the showman, grabbed the microphone and declared, "I was inspired by Mike. I'm prepared to create history." Tyson only gave him a sly smile. That smile, which was equal parts remorse and respect, told it all. And when he did speak, the sound came through the speakers like thunder. Survivors write history. Hopefully, you will reach that point. Boom. The internet went crazy on that line alone. Tyson said it became popular all around the world. Even Ngannou laughed, but not in a mocking way, as if he already knew how the film would finish. The video became legendary overnight. Fans referred to it as the final warning. News sources portrayed it as Tyson delivering judgment, and meme pages had a field day. Like Fate's own trailer, Jake's "Let's Make History" was looped next to Tyson's "Let's Hope You Survive." However, something changed behind the scenes. Jake apparently stopped talking trash for the first time. Not out of fear, but introspection. Because even the most arrogant people feel the burden of heritage bearing down on them when Mike Tyson talks. Tyson, too. He brought balance back into boxing, not just a quote. At last, the influencer circus had to face its consequences. The ring had nothing to do with likes, followers, or thumbnail expressions. It has to do with gloves, men, and repercussions. In the days that followed, Tyson made his position clear. I adore Jake's self-assurance, but you don't play boxing as a game. It either kills you or you live it. Easy. Brutal. Sincerely, that's the gospel of Mike Tyson. It was revered by Ngannou. Jake shared it again. What about the world? I still can't quit debating it. However, everyone knows in their hearts that Tyson wasn't merely making remarks about a fight. The ring would always belong to the real ones, he reminded us. Iron Mike very likely muttered, "Welcome to my jungle, kid," somewhere beneath that smile. Legends don't go away after the smoke clears. Instead, they simply observe how much suffering the following generation can endure. Furthermore, Tyson's remarks in this tale were prophecies rather than merely suggestions. That's when Iron Mike Tyson transformed a YouTube prank into a boxing lesson. Memes are proliferating, the internet is still trembling, and Jake Paul is most likely shadowboxing his reflection right now. The true question, though, is whether you believe Jake Paul will survive Francis Ngannou. Or is this just another widely shared publicity gimmick that will fail sooner than Logan Paul's cryptocurrency venture? I'm reading all of the comments, so please share your thoughts. Congratulations if you've made it this far. You've officially survived the most insane boxing story since Tyson bit a man's ear on live television. Because the controversies here never sleep. Do yourself a favor and hit the like button as if it owed you money. Hit the subscribe button more forcefully than Ngannou's jab and join the chaos.